Hello and welcome to this video. We are now halfway or a little past halfway of this series. This is my Disney VHS tape cover series. I have now done Basil the Great Mouse Detective, The Rescuers, Sleeping Beauty, Jungle Book and Aladdin. So if one of those or one of these is your favorite Disney film, go check them out too. I have said this in previous videos, but just in case this is your first video, I found this on DeviantArt. My profile is on my link tree, which is linked below. I saw this by a user called ArchanXV, who then states that they got the idea from edog8181804 from their top 10 memes. This is the Disney VHS tape cover version though. So when I like to do my sketching or drawing digitally, what I like to do is to do the shapes on a different layer on top of the reference image. This way I'm able to unsee or see or lower the opacity of the reference image layer to see the actual shapes that are there of the reference image. Then I can then draw the shapes next to the reference image on the right hand side and see where, if I'm going wrong, I can compare them both by just unseeing the image. And I know that with this one, when I first did the shapes, I didn't like it and I didn't know where I could correct it. So I decided the best option would be to start again, which I'm glad I did because I like the shapes the second time this time. So when I'm thinking about the shapes on the right hand side, pardon me, sorry. When I think about all the shapes are on the right side and in the right places and the right size and stuff, I then like to refine those shapes. I'm doing this in the blue line. I like to use two complementary colors for these two steps. So the pink is for the shapes and then the blue line is for the refine. And I also like to do this on different layers, turning down the opacity of the shape layer, which is the pink line, down so I can see it just faintly. So then I can draw over them in the blue line and making it look more like the character. Also, because I zoom in, so I'm able to focus on a character at a time, I can't see the reference image then because it's not on screen. So I like to take part of the reference image that I'm drawing and place it next to me so I can see the reference image that I'm drawing at the same time as drawing it, if you know what I mean. So and then just carry on drawing and making the right lines. So now that I've said this and the sketching part, I'm gonna go on to some facts about Bambi before we get on to colouring. So fact number one, the Disney classic film Bambi was based on a largely forgotten book called Bambi, A Life in the Woods, written by Felix Salten, an Australian author, and was published in 1926. Disney bought the rights to Sultan's book for just $5,000. So Sultan fled to Hollywood shortly after the public burning of his book, where he was given the rather small sum of $5,000 for his novel. In 1935, both of Sultan's Bambi novels were banned and burnt by the Nazis because they were viewed them as Jewish propaganda. Because of this, few first editions of Bambi remain, despite it being such a bestseller. Bambi was Walt Disney's favourite film project. So out of all the films produced by Walt Disney, Bambi held a special place in his heart as he believed it was one of the most important stories to be told. Fact 2. The character Bambi was voiced by several child actors. To capture the innocence and vulnerability of Bambi, multiple child actors were cast to provide the voice for the young deer, so throughout different stages of his life. Now, during the inception of the animated features, adults were typically recruited to provide all the voices, even when it came to portraying children. This is still common today, as children's voices are bound to change over time, and Walt Disney had a different idea for this film, however, insisting that Bambi and the other woodland creatures be voiced by young children. In fact, Thumper's character was largely formed around the child who provided his voice, using his distinctive intonation. Yeah, to inspire the lines that the writers came up with. This made it all the more significant when Bambi and his friends ultimately grew up, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Fact 3. Man is the film's main antagonist, so main villain. Unlike other Disney films, Bambi doesn't have a traditional villain. So instead, the conflict comes from the unseen threat posed by man, who represents the destructive nature of mankind. While most Disney films and children's movies is generally has a clear villain to outline the divide between good and evil, the antagonist in Bambi is a little different. The faceless threat in this film is man, but humans never actually appear on screen. So in the movie, characters utter the phrases "man in the forest" to warn others that there are predators nearby. However, in the Disney studio, the expression took on a whole different meaning. The crew would reportedly whisper it when Walt was coming down the hallway to warn the group to get to work. When I first read this fact, it gave me shivers, thinking of it, because I really do think that humans are dangerous, way more dangerous than most animals. But then I started laughing because just them warning each other about Walt coming down the corridor. They're like school kids warning when a teacher is coming. It just made me laugh a little bit. So number 4, the animators studied real deer. The animators assigned to work on Bambi put in a lot of work to ensure that their on-screen depictions of deer would be correct and realistic as possible. The teams knew that deer would be practically difficult to use as characters because of the way their facial features are formed. Not only did the animators take trips to Los Angeles Zoo to study the critters, but Disney also had a small setup for where in the studio where ducks, rabbits, owls, skunks, and 2 baby fawns were kept for the illustrators to observe. Of course, the fawns were named Bambi and Feline. And fact number 5, the last fact. So some of its animation has been reused. In Disney's early days, it was common practice to reuse bits of animation in different movies to save the artist's time and the company money. And because recreating each cell was so time consuming, it made sense to slightly alter existing illustrations rather than creating new ones from scratch. So in fact, this has been done with Bambi more than any other film, especially when it comes to the leaves and birds. Images of Bambi's mother have been propped up in Beauty and the Beast, The Sword and the Stone, and The Jungle Book. She can also be spotted with her son in The Rescuers. Also, the movie has a very little dialogue. I just thought I'd add this one. Bambi runs for an hour and 10 minutes, which isn't much shorter than the typical Disney movie. And the actual script, however, was only a handful of pages long. The entirety of the film's dialogue makes up less than 1,000 words in total, which makes sense considering how many quiet and ambient scenes there are in this film. So Disney used a similar technique in 2008's WALL-E when they included almost no dialogue at all in the movie's first act. It goes to show that when it comes to animation, sometimes showing is better than telling. I absolutely love the film Bambi. It's just so great. So now we're going to get on to colouring. So when I do my colouring, I like to put the base shade down for all of the characters, and then I'm able to use highlights and shades to create depth for each of the characters. And I like to work on a character at a time. So, and I'm pretty sure I've done the base colour for the background too. And the title was very easy to do with this one. The other one seemed a little bit harder, or maybe I was procrastinating a little bit, so I decided to do the title straight away. Normally I do the title end, but I've decided to be different this time for some reason. So with shading, I started off with flower first, and I like to use the spray tool when it comes to shading. if you've seen my other videos, when it comes to I'll go back a little bit. When it comes to the block coloring, I like to block color it and go past the lines, and then I'm able to rub out until the color is in the right section. I do this mostly for myself because I find it therapeutic. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. And then I add these, which is the spray tool, trying to add shades and highlights to it, and then I rub out any excess because I need to carry on remembering that I can select shapes and stuff like that. My memory's bad. If you have watched Aladdin, then I explain it a lot better in that video, I'm pretty sure. So if you want a better explanation, please go to that video. But I absolutely loved coloring this one in. I don't know what it was, but it was so good to color these in. Like the character, I don't know what it was, but they just look so cute and fluffy and so nice. And I really liked adding the shade in. I don't know what it was. I just had more. Is that right? I had more fun shading these ones and adding the little effects and highlights and even the background. I love just being able to play with different tools for the background with Bambi than the other ones. The other ones I was a bit more like strict with myself, whereas with Bambi I was able to use loads of different tools and just have fun and go at it. But we are still on the characters. But I nearly forgot about the butterfly. I'm so glad I added it in. But yeah, and I'm getting there. But who is your favorite character in Bambi? I personally have always had a soft spot for Thumper. I absolutely loved him. You know, I loved him as a kid. I just thought he was amazing. Oh, and here the for some reason the dots, his pattern just didn't seem right, so it just needed to be lighter, and then I had to add a darker color. Now I am gonna say this because this has popped up twice now. I am listening to One Piece AVMs. So I'm sorry if you had like a jump scare of Brook and then Ace and Luffy. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's so good. I love listening to music while doing my drawing or watching just my YouTube watch later list. It's good. That's what I do. But yeah, so going back to coloring, I added more depth and more color to Bambi to make it, between his legs and on his back more darker. And then every now and again, if it was too dark, I'd turn the opacity down a little bit because the color was just right, but it was just a little bit too dark, so I'd just do that. And then I'm pretty much near the end with all the characters. The characters right now, they look great. This is where I just started messing around with each of the brushes, sorry. So at first I was just using the spray tool still, and then in the end I just went for it and then started messing with all the different brushes that I have and adding loads of different colors, and it was just so fun letting loose with the background. If not with the characters, do with the background. It's always fun, just so fun. But yeah, so I hope that you liked this video because we are getting near to the end. Comment below if you have watched the other videos and which one's your favorite videos up to now. Like, have you liked my previous videos, or do you really like this one, or I don't know. This is what happens when I don't have a script and I don't know what to say. But is there any of the facts that you thought was unusual or you've never heard before, or have you got any other Bambi facts that I didn't mention? Or have you got any other just Disney facts in general that you'd like to say in the comments? Please do. I absolutely love Disney. I love learning about Disney. So please comment below. But yeah, I hope that you liked this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe to watch more of my videos. I know this one seems near the end, seems a bit chaotic, and I'm sorry. But that's I don't want to say that's like most of my videos, but it could be. I don't know. You'll be the judge of that. But I do loads of different things. I am chaotic in a sense of I don't know which one to do. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it here. Anyway, I hope that you have a lovely day, evening, and I hope that you like this video. Goodbye.